Hello, so my name's Michael Conneely, and this is a Star Wheel video, and the focus of this webinar is how to interpret your year ahead. So we're at the end, we're at the end of 2015, and so we'll be looking at the charts of members, not to do readings of the year ahead, because that would take at least 1 hour each, but to pick up the salient trends and the sorts of methods and approaches. And as soon as the schools have gone back in 2016, I'm going to do another webinar, which will be just about the astrology of 2016, Western Astrology and Vedic Astrology. And this video is more to look at individual lives through 2016. So the hope is that when the 2016 astrology is clearly presented, it'll mean much more. And just to say that from February to November 2016, 4 worldwide weekly webinars start, each of them linked to one of my astrology courses. So on Wednesdays at 21:30 hours UK time, there's the Advanced Vedic Astrology webinar, that's level 3. And on Thursdays from February to November 2016 every week, the level 2 Vedic Astrology course at 21:30 hours UK time about the Nakshatras, the wonderful 27 sign lunar zodiac of Vedic astrology. And on Saturdays every week from February to November 2016 at 5 o'clock there's Western Astrology level 1, and at 7:30 UK time Vedic Astrology level 1, and every participant gets the recording emailed to them. The webinars link at no extra charge to a very detailed course, half of which is applied, looking at your chart and mine, relevant to the topics of the course in question, and the other half is about techniques and procedures. So, first of all, on with this webinar, which is looking at members' charts for 2016. And this is our first meeting with Zoom rather than Hangouts, so we'll sort of see how this goes. And I'm hoping for good news, but please let me know what you think. There is a chat button at the bottom, and if someone needs to comment, then indeed I can unmute you and you can have full speech, I understand. So people are coming online, and I'm just right. So I think we're all set. So first of all, I'm going to look at Emma's chart. And the reason I've chosen Emma's chart first is because she has trenchant and classic indicators for her year ahead. And it's really worthwhile to have those clearly stated. So I'm going to screen share onto the prepared document, which is set to come on at Emma's material. And first of all, just briefly, we'll look at Emma's predictive periods in Vedic astrology, the dashas and the sub-periods, the bhuktis. And as you can see from the screen, Emma has recently entered Rahu Dasha, Rahu predictive period, which runs from the end of 2014 to 2032. And at the moment, she's in the first sub-period, the first bhukti called Rahu. So she's in Rahu. And it's so worthwhile having a perspective that you're in these periods, the dates you're in them, and what they mean. And in a nutshell, Rahu, the north node of the moon, is the indicator of our incarnational destiny this time. It's a demon sort of entity, demonically or obsessionally driving us forward in the direction of our incarnational life purpose. And so we have to purify the force of Rahu as we move towards our defined incarnational life purpose. So purifying the energy is part of the journey. But if the energy wasn't what it was, it wouldn't drive us forward in the sort of first place, and we wouldn't have the divine opportunity to make the learning. And what does Rahu period do? Well, basically it makes us dissatisfied with ourselves. I'm at the very end of the Rahu period, and so is Maggie. We end within a year. And it's quite a roller coaster. It's a driven energy where the divine purpose is to impel you to become who you were meant to be. And Emma's just at the start of her journey. Now, if you look at her transits in Vedic astrology, well, here is her birth chart, and here is the chart for now. So you can see that Saturn at the moment is at 14 Scorpio, and her ascendant is in the next sign, Sagittarius. So in other words, since the 3rd of November 2014, she has been in the transit of Saturn going through her 12th house. But more than that, she also has Moon in Sidereal or Vedic Sagittarius. So at the same time, she entered Sade Sate. And this is why I've chosen her out first, because her astrology is vehement. But to have the perception is wonderful, to have the timing is wonderful. And of course, it means, with the great guide of the perception of Vedic astrology, but also with healing modalities and maybe using things like artistic expression and embodiment, one can make a great success of this and avoid the pitfalls. So Sade Sati starts when Saturn enters the sign before the moon. So Saturn entered Sidereal or Vedic Scorpio on the 3rd of November 2014. And then for 2.5 years, he moves through Scorpio. For 2.5 years, he moves through Sagittarius, going across her ascendant, going across her moon. And then for 2.5 years, goes through Vedic Capricorn. And I wonder if someone could just kindly mute themselves. There was just a bit of background noise, if that would be fine.
It might be me. I don't know how to do it. Sorry.
Right. And I don't know whether I can do it for you, Rebecca. Well, we'll see how we go. So
I'll shut the doors.
I could just try. Oh, doesn't look good. No, because I'm on screen share, so I'd have to. Anyway, we'll see. So this is massive, massive news. To hear this is incredible. And right, I think I'm going to. Right, we may have to mute, or I may have to stop screen sharing mute, but we'll see if it quietens down, which it may well do. So, no, I'll stop sharing.
Sorry.
It's all right, it's all right. I'll see if I can mute it.
Oh, I can see mute.
Oh, lovely. And Yvonne is muted as well. That's wonderful. So I'll go back to screen share. So screen share and back to Emma's chart. Right, that's wonderful. The sound is so clear. So in other words, Emma could be said to have like the most tremendous challenge, but I know that she's doing ever so well. How does the challenge start? Well, actually, we begin to enter Sade Sate, and things die in our life. There can be physical deaths. There can be a big move of house. There can be lots of depression. And indeed, during the the start of Sadhi, well, the actual start in terms of the Nakshatras, the 27 lunar signs of Vedic astrology, the start is when Saturn enters your Manasa Nakshatra. That's the 25th Nakshatra from your natal moon, just inside the 12th house. And the Manasa Nakshatra is our default state of consciousness. It is so useful, so important to know that Saturn has entered your Manasa Nakshatra. In the Nakshatras course next year, I will be going through each Nakshatra, one a week for 27 weeks. And so, I will specify when we come to the Manasa Nakshatra of each participant. And basically we study that so we know what is being activated. And it's being activated for us to develop awareness, somehow not fall into the upsets and the traps. It's like receiving a weather forecast. You're planning to go abroad, and so if you hear that the weather forecast is blizzards, well, then you take appropriate clothing, you plan to do appropriate activities, you adjust your timetable. And that's what you should do when you enter Sadhi Sate. It's not always quite as difficult. There are 4 exception signs, and they experience the difficulties and the challenges, but they also have a reaping of a certain success. And they are the Venus and Saturn ruled signs, Libra and Taurus, Capricorn and Aquarius. But of course, Emma has her moon in Sagittarius, and it's in Purvashada lunar sign. And I think Emma will do very well because of the way she's starting off in Sadhi, handling it, because of the way she's handling Saturn going through her 12th house. You see, in a very brief nutshell, Purvashada so often are people who believe in paradigms. They're quite invincible, and they can be quite hard and cruel on other people who don't fit the paradigm. And so, for example, you can get spiritual teachers who, have the method, and yet their children can suffer agonies and be neglected. Or, well, yes, if people are the victims of what goes on at their centers or programs, those people are sort of way out of order, and they should be, doing this, that, and the other. And people can become roadkill. But of course, I know that Emma isn't like that. I think Emma's being very, very sensitive. And I believe, and I hope I'm speaking correctly for her, she faced the choice of, as it were, I don't know what the word is, detaching from feelings, bypassing them, developing that sort of 12th house enlightenment, or engaging with the world to make an achievement. And I know that wonderfully, in my opinion, she's going to do that. And I believe she will do very, very well. So she's fully aware of the fact that when you're in Saturn in the 12th house, you're going to become reclusive, things die, it's spiritual retreat time. When you're at the beginning of Sadhi, you can get very pessimistic, and there can be deaths, separations, and so forth. And yet she's setting out not to say, oh yes, I am sitting in meditation watching the feelings. She's setting to engage, to make the achievement the facet of why she came this time. So that's a fascinating and important thing, and that's one of the reasons I thought I'd speak about Emma's chart first. Now, obviously, there are many other things going on in everybody's life, in Emma's life now, but we're just trying to get through all the members of the group, not in a helter-skelter way, but just choosing out something meaningful for each person. Hello, Lisa. And so I felt it was just, you'll get the recording. It'll be emailed to you afterwards if you came in late or missed it. But it is, it is so wonderful what Vedic astrology is here doing for Emma. So I'm now going to move, having used that wonderful example, to my chart. And, I'll just say what I feel is going on for me. So, we're just picking up little bits of techniques and pointers. And the thing is, you get this recording and you get this huge document. I think it's 106 pages containing everybody's charts. It was very difficult to put together. It took me hours because I had to sort of paste in screens from 4 programs. So there was every possibility for a mistake or a program malfunction. And indeed, if you feel I've sent you like an error screen anywhere, for goodness sake, let me know. I'll send you the right one and alert other members. So everybody will see this 106 documents, which is your predictive astrology for 2016, plus, of course, your natal, in both Western and Vedic astrology. So let's go to mine. Okay. So just to say, Lisa, I don't know if you could mute yourself. Do you know how to? Wonderful. You're so high tech. I don't know how you do it. Okay, so you can probably now see my Vedic charts. What would I like? Oh, yes. Well, I think what I would like to share, first of all, is my predictive periods. You see, as I said to you, I'm like Emma in Rahu, but I'm in the final period, as is Maggie, Rahu, Mars. And at the same time, Saturn is actually transiting over my Mars in my birth chart. So I made the policy, the strategy of working like incredibly hard, and obviously negotiating with Maggie to support me in this, because I believe, and I'll be 67, that to come to Jupiter will be the sort of achievement of my life. You see, my sun is in Chitra lunar sign, and Chitra, well, the symbol is a pearl, and we can take ages for our pearl, to be sort of revealed to the world, because, of course, a pearl starts off in a dull encasing shell. And the ruling deity is Vishvakarma, the heavenly architect. So we were born to manifest something in this life, not to go in retreat, not to deny the world, but to spiritually and creative achieve. So I took the view that I would my achievement would flower when I went into Jupiter Dasha in January 2017. And so it's now or never for me to do the foundation work, Rahu Mars. So I determined to work like incredibly hard all through 2016. For example, I've set up those 4 webinars, but I'm also impelled to do other things that came along. I mean, there's been quite weird stuff to do with my severed Irish heritage coming up. And weirdly, I think getting healing, yes, indeed, getting healing from the sort of energy in the rocks of the area of my native land, and that's the truth. And indeed, I'm sort of setting up courses in the Druid Forest School to contact the teachings and practices of the ancient Irish Druids. So it's also something about that. So I'm in Rahu Mars. Let me just show you the Vedic transits briefly, if I can quickly find them. Let me see, transits, close. No, hold on. So you'll be getting this document anyway, so you can listen to the recording. So here they are. So here's Saturn today at 14 Vedic Scorpio. My Mars was at 7 Scorpio. And the energy when Saturn went over Mars was like, working incredibly hard. Nothing would work, though. It was like wading through setting concrete. And the divine message of that was to strip away what I shouldn't be doing, so as to perfect what I was doing, so I could reap success. Mars is a sort of dicey energy, but with me it's brought great healing, possibly because I have Mars in its own sign of Scorpio. It also rules my 10th house, so it rules my 5th house of creativity, children, and Purva Punya, past life, merit, significantly, and my 10th house of career, occupied by Rahu, a driven energy that if I can get it right, purify it, and have support, I will do very well. Rahu in Aries is good as long as you don't kill yourself doing it. And so I sort of made those decisions. Now, just anything else. I mean, my Western astrology is quite sort of awesome. So if you look at, if you look at my Huber age point, now there are 2 Huber age points. There is the individuation age point, a black circle with a black cross. It starts off at the ascendant and takes 72 years to go around the rim of the chart, going through the signs, through the houses, and across the planets. And my individuation age point it's in my 12th house. And incidentally, almost all my work is in foreign parts. That's one of the meanings of the 12th house. But my nodal age point, this is the 3 concentric red circles, which starts off not at the ascendant, but at the north node of the moon in the birth chart, going that way. That is, yes, how amazing, aspecting Mars. And so terribly often, Huber astrology says the same thing as Vedic astrology, but comes to it through a totally different route. Now, the nodal age point is the whisper of your soul to you from the astral. And ever since this has been happening, well, the weird thing is, in fact, I've been very drawn by the Morrigan, the battle goddess of the ancient Irish. And I mean, she isn't a sort of slayer or harridan like she's sometimes presented, nor is she a sort of wicked phantom like the monks made up. She is an august spirit of sovereignty and rightness, but defense of the land, of our right to life and so forth, our right to our own sovereignty. So Mars is being activated because my soul is whispering to me about Mars. It's also whispering to me about Uranus and indeed my sun itself. So Uranus is some sort of new stuff, and I think that's the Irish stuff. And my sun is being able to say, this is me. You see, my sun is most deeply fallen in Vedic Leo. It's conjunct Ketu. And, you know, I was unfathered virtually. And so now I believe I have actually done quite a lot of work to saying, you know, this is me and I want to be heard, you know, and I want to be supported and all that sort of thing. And I want to express myself. So that's at the beginning of the predictive year. At the end of the predictive year, well, the age points have obviously moved. And so the individuation age point is aspecting my sun. So I'm sort of experiencing my sun more psychologically. But the nodal age point is in inconjunct to Jupiter and my sun. And so, well, basically the energy of an inconjunct is you're walking along life's pathway, you're feeling more and more tense, something's wrong, and then you can't walk along the pathway anymore because you come to a fork in the road and you have to make a choice, left or right. And so that, you know, sets out the energy I am moving towards. I don't know whether I can you know, pick out certain other things from these charts which you'll receive. I mean, Mars conjunct Neptune, there was a big increase in intuition recently. Pluto, Neptune, again, another, you know, depth sort of increases in intuition. Oh, yes, now look at this. Here's a list of transits, and Uranus is conjunct my midheaven, entering my 10th house of career in February, and Uranus conjuncts my moon in May. Now, Uranus to the moon isn't easy. It's the struck card in tarot. Anything could happen. Uranus opposes my sun in July. Big, big, big. I mean, Uranus takes 84 years to go around the chart. It's not going to happen again. And so I can see very big change just from those. And so there's Uranus hitting my moon again in October, Saturn square Venus, which is ideally about sort of perfecting matters of love and commitment, changing, the way one expresses in love, seeking the ideal. Jupiter conjunct Neptune is very imaginative and visionary. So that's just a tiny little look at the transits. You're all getting this sort of data. Here's my graphed transits. And is there anything I'd want to add? I mean, there's loads of other things. Oh, yes, and indeed, I sent you a long computer-generated, good quality Western transits report. You see, Rahu conjunct my sun in June and July, sort of really being quite driven to express my divine spark, but hopefully not in a driven way. Just to say that both Jupiter and Rahu will be in Leo. Jupiter's there already in Vedic Leo. Rahu backs out of Virgo into Vedic Leo at the end of January. And so the two of them will be together in Vedic Leo from the end of January to August. And that could be huge because Rahu is driven, Jupiter amplifies Rahu, but it's dangerous. If we have this warning, we can purify it. And indeed, Rahu and Jupiter are going through my second house of childhood issues, which are sort of very big with me, almost like a curse because I have a Gandanta moon. My moon was born at the very end of Pisces. Mother will not be there for him. And, it is unshakable that, according to Vedic astrology. You can sort of hear a sun in the Gandanta zone, but not the moon. You have to learn to live with it. But the second house isn't only about childhood, it's about value issues and money. So I think I will be seeking to earn more. I certainly need to. And but I have to be careful not to become too obsessional and driven, although I'm doing so many things. In fact, the combination of Rahu and Jupiter is called Guru Chandala Yoga, and it needs purifying according to the Vedic tradition. Daily rituals be done in the Sarpa temples in India to purify the energy of Jupiter so that the Guru isn't solid, to calm the energy of Rahu. But I've actually just done a blog posting. I think there will be war because Guru Chandala Yoga in the wrong hands is fundamentalism. I mean, I've seen it in people like who run spiritual centers who've got it, say, in their first house. They lurch from enthusiasm to enthusiasm, whipping people into their latest enthusiasm sort of thing. There's always the paradigm. There's always the enemies. They're power stealers. But combined to that, the fact that Saturn and Mars are conjunct in Vedic Scorpio from February to, now I forget when, I think it's August, can't remember exactly, I've done a post on that recently. Well, Saturn and Mars, at its best, is very hard work, where things die that you shouldn't be focused on, and so you purify and you reap from your hard work. But of course, it's a death energy. It's a war energy. And so in the wrong hands, I feel war is inevitable from those two influences. And just at the moment, Mars is opposite Uranus. And both of those are square Pluto. I have felt so unwell and unhappy in the last week under that energy. This is the build-up to the war, I think. However, that's my personal interpretation. We shall see. So, oh yes, it's very important to look at where your progressed moon is. So for all of you, I've done hopefully correctly. As I said, you have to just check I've been accurate because I've had to work through 10 people and 4 different programs, so that I might just forget to sort of move the chart onto the next person and accidentally paste in the last person's chart. I don't think I've done that. Now, where is my moon? Well, my moon, this is very interesting, is just about to go over Neptune in my birth chart. And indeed, progress moon is moving towards progress Neptune. And then, of course, so I think I'm going to become more and more intuitive and visionary. This certainly seems to be the case. And I'm sort of developing these new courses in the Irish Druid Path. And well, ever since Rahu went over my Neptune, I've just been doing tarot readings all around the world. And yeah, so that's just a tiny thing. So we ought to go on, say, to Maggie. Well, Maggie's predictive astrology turned out to be very interesting. I'm just wondering how to pick out to show you there's 2 quite different things corresponding. Well, yes, just to say in predictive periods, Maggie, like me, is in Rahu Mars. And so, oh no, she hasn't gone into it yet. She goes in on the 3rd of January 2016. Mars is her strongest planet, so she'll need to be careful to achieve balance and not to sort of, go on a war path or a driven path. Because if you look at the graphs, I don't know if they're in this document, Mars is her strongest planet. But that's not the main indicators. Well, the main indicators, I'm just wondering how to show this. Let's carry on down. Well, just note this. Saturn is Maggie's Atmakarika, and Saturn is massively activated now. Your Atmakarika is an unfinished life from your unfinished task from your past life. Mine is the moon, which was about mothering, something in my past life. Maggie's is Saturn, which is deeply karmic, and you have to bear unhappiness, including the unhappiness and sorrow and suffering of others. And you have to get right Saturn's responsibilities, limits, duties, and hard work, and bring Saturn virtues of patience and ethics. Saturn at his highest is the great Brahmin. Saturn at his lowest is a sort of mean, spiteful energy almost, but that's because we don't understand him. Let's go to, I'm trying to get through, let's look at her Hubert age point. Yes, this is interesting. There is her individuation age point entering the 12th house, which certainly is very spiritual, very intuitive, but also can be foreign parts. Log that. In July, the Hubert age point reaches the Uranus-Pluto midpoint. Now, remember that these have like a 1 year before and after period. They're like a sine wave of increasing intensity to the exact and then gradually fading away. So Uranus-Pluto is about revolution and death and rebirth. Right. And so by the end of 2016, here, hopefully I've got it right, yes, and her soul will be whispering to her about her son, about the manifestation of her son. You see, Maggie's got a sort of very weird son in a way, because it's most deeply fallen in Swati lunar sign, and which is given to scatter and ruled by Rahu and all that. It's near the greatest debilitation degree, but it's in the 1st house. That could be said, legalistically, to undo the debilitation, but that's rubbish. Because Vedic spirituality is tantric, what happens is you experience both. So sometimes you could be very me first, sun in the 1st house. At other times you could be, let me fit into your group, let me fit into this, So of course she'll be, as she is going on her work of her Rahu Mars Dasha, and her intuitive, revolutionary death and rebirth pathway, she'll find out about how on earth do I balance the total opposites that my sun is surrounded by. Well, here we are. This is what I was going. Uranus is retrograding now, and at the end of December, it is on station. In fact, it's nearly on station now, but it's on station at the end of December, and it's on top of her nodal axis. So in other words, it's conjunct her Rahu and opposite her Ketu, and it is opposite her Neptune. And to make matters more cutting in the heavens, Mars is opposite Uranus. Now, the North Node is the indicator of your incarnational life purpose this time, and Maggie's is actually in her 12th house. Well, the Vedic astrology is that it's in her 12th house in the 6th sign, Virgo. And so these are the nodes of an intuitive healer. She was born to be an intuitive healer. It's a carryover from past lives. She was most certainly a healer in past lives. What happens when Uranus contacts your North Node? Revolution. Uranus is spasmodic, difficult energy, sudden change. It's jarring. It's inhuman. Uranus killed all his children. And his partner couldn't stand it, so she protected Saturn, the youngest child, when he was born. Saturn castrated the father. So it's not a human energy, but it's a god of change. And the other thing to bear in mind, oh dear, I think we've lost Lisa, but maybe she'll come back. The other thing to bear in mind, hello Lisa, is internet. You see, nowadays, Uranus is, as it were, planet of the internet, and Ketu, the south node, most definitely is internet. So I predict, and I've done a blog post about this, that Maggie will have been making, and will especially make between Christmas and New Year, contacts of a different nature that will bring in the expression of her incarnation of life purpose in a very big and, bit of a different way. I mean, it will be coming in already, of course, because Uranus has already, it moves very slowly, and it's been over the North Node 3 times. So this station is like the 4th and 5th, as you can get with the outer planets. But it's a dangerous energy with Mars opposite Uranus. I mean, it's a horrible energy to feel. My son, Declan, who's 20, has Mars square Uranus in his birth chart, and he's very sort of wired and everything. And yet Neptune is in as well, so she's got Uranus activating Neptune, which at its highest is guiding vision and intuition. Of course, at its lowest, it's delusion and illusion and drugs and alcohol and all that. But so it's a very big crossroads for Maggie if you put all these few bits that I've mentioned together. So let's carry on down. Fascinating stuff. So progressed moon in her 10th house of career. Now look at this. Day for a year progressions. So because there's a fixed relationship between the time taken for the moon to orbit the earth and the earth to orbit the sun, when you're 1 day old, it says something about what will happen when you're 1 year old. When you're 2 days old, it says something about a key thing that will happen when you're 2 years old. That's called day for a year progressions. Notice that Maggie's progressed moon is conjunct Saturn, and progressed moon is still conjuncting Saturn in the 10th house of career in her birth chart in Western astrology. So it's very much about structures, limits, responsibility, ethics. It is the task, the fulfillment of a lifetime. So here we get to Lisa. Now, Lisa, I used lots of red ink when I went through your Western Transits report. You seem to be at a big crossroads. And when I got to your Huber predictive astrology, I saw that indeed you are. So we'll just quickly go forward to that. and you'll be getting this document, of course, tomorrow. Coming up. Yes. Notice that the individuation age point and the nodal age point, the whisper of your soul, are getting very close. Notice that in a year's time, they are very, very close. And I worked out they actually overlap. I think it's in March 2017. Now, this can only happen twice in a lifetime, unless you live a very long lifetime, in which case, for some people, it can happen 3 times. And it's a key time. It's not necessarily when we get everything right, but something key happens. There can be things wrong with that, but there's huge learning. And when it happened to me, I became manager of a spiritual center. And so I learned a lot of skills, but in fact, I encountered, I thought, quite dysfunctional people and had to prop them up and caused me all sorts of stresses. So there was learning of that sort too. But I do feel you're heading to a pinnacle in the expression of your yoga and spiritual path. So let's just go back, having said that, to pick up the other pieces. Sun is in Jyesta, which is in Scorpio, and we know that Saturn is transiting through Vedic Scorpio. Now, when Saturn transits through Scorpio, I just see Saturn has gone over your Sun as well. Let's go to Vedic transits. What's your Atmakarika? Your Atmakarika is the moon, like me. And you are in Ketu Dasha, which is hugely, almost like heaven realms opening if we're connected to the spiritual. Big change. And you were in Ketu Rahu from February 2014 to February 2015. Now, obviously, you encountered your incarnational destiny at that time because that's the nodes of the moon. The other period, the biggest one of all, is Rahu Ketu, but this is big, Ketu Rahu. And so you're now in Ketu Jupiter. So your enlargement is very much at issue, but also husband issues in a woman's chart, Jupiter. But always, and building on past life skills and revolution. So here are your transits, and I hope the screen share is working okay. Saturn is now at 14 Scorpio, so you're no longer got Saturn in the 12th house. So you've come out of a period of reclusiveness and lack of confidence. And indeed, that very much shows. I don't think people become fully sort of confident until Saturn moves into their 2nd house, which I think is October 2017. But the big thing is that Saturn goes over your Sun. You'll have got the date in the paperwork. And if we're off course, that means downfall, pessimism, illness. But for those who are on course, it is golden reaping and coming into your essence. Your Sun is in Jyesta, and the highest expression of Jyesta is the eldest. As we've discussed, Jyestas have to be careful about their children because children can feel sort of, oh dear, mum or dad isn't being gentle with me, isn't noticing me. I mean, my adoptive mother is Jyesta, indeed in our Bhakta Mula, the last degree of Jyesta, where, traditionally, a woman there with moon there and she has sun there as well is unmarriageable. And indeed, it's very difficult to feel recognized. That her path doesn't involve that. So it's important to sort of have that stated, and the textbooks stress that. But you see, as long as you've got that awareness, and I think you're heading to great success just from that transit. So let's carry down. Anything else? covered the Huber age point, sort of. I don't think well, we didn't look into it by house, so that's important because that's the 9th house. So your individuation age point is moving into the 9th house of spirituality and higher learning. But the whisper of your soul is moving to the 8th house, which is partnership, death and rebirth, the occult, the psychic. Just a few sort of buzzwords. I don't know if I'd add anything. I was remiss in not looking at Chiron earlier. I've just noticed Ketu is on top of your Chiron. That's crossing Western with Vedic astrology, needs thinking about. And Rahu is conjunct your Jupiter-Uranus. That could be very big gain. But you'd have to be careful because of the Guru Chandala yoga that's around. In other words, Jupiter and Rahu increasingly close in the heavens, not to become too driven, not to have any dark associations. And I gave you the transit report on those. The progressed moon is, this is interesting, is about to enter the 1st house. So progressed moon is ending its stay in the 1st house. Like me, you've got progressed moon conjunct Neptune, and progressed moon is moving towards Saturn. It takes 2.5 years to go through a house, but very shortly, your progressed moon is going to enter your 1st house. And then it will cross progress Saturn as it closes on your sun. So you've got a lot of responsibility and hard work, but you're going to do very, very well. Your sort of behind the scenes time is over. Right. Moving on to Louise. Notice that Louise has a very debilitated sun, and of course that can bring health issues. So that's important. By predictive period, Louise is in Venus-Jupiter. Well, Venus, amongst other things, in love, and Jupiter is about her expansion, also husband issues. So that lasts from 2013, November 2013 to July 2016. By transits, well, of course, we have Louise has just had, like a few days ago, her 1st Saturn return. This is key. It's on a par with Emma's Sade Sate and the Saturn through the 12th Emma had. When Saturn returns to his natal position, it takes, say, 29 years, roughly. And the first time, we are impelled to, as it were, get promotion, to get a better position in the world so that we can express our karmas, so that we can express our talents. I remember I was desperate to change job as mine occurred. And amazingly, like a really, really big job sort of happened onto me. It was like massive expansion, but all sorts of problems. And when the 2nd Saturn return happens at an age approximately 59, if you're off path, you suffer terribly because, well, you're doing the suffering. It isn't Saturn giving it to you, but the divine purpose of it is to make you think, oh my God, this is so awful. I have got to heal and empower myself so that I express my spark for being here. So this is a once in a lifetime, obviously, for Louise, 1st Saturn return. It's very important for Louise not to sort of, as it were, going for a spiritual bypass, but to realize that she's here to express her talents, to succeed. And, well, just to say that Jupiter and Rahu will obviously be in her 4th house. Oh, no, sorry. I'm so sorry. In her 11th house of gains, I was looking at the transiting. In her 11th house of gains, so she could make lots of gains, she has to beware the dangers of Guru Chandala Yoga. Keep it in balance, develop divine awareness. So interestingly, Ketu will be transiting. Here's Ketu, it goes into Aquarius at the end of January in her 7th house of marriage, and Rahu transiting in her 1st house of self. So that could be difficult for relationship. It doesn't, to me, as it were, accord easily with the energy of the Bhukti, which from memory was Venus Jupiter. So there's a sort of challenge of understanding there may be. Here we are, Louise's Huber. So there is her individuation age point, started off here, it's reached here, it's going through her, going over Mars to her 6th house of health, healing, right living, work and service. Takes 6 years to go through there. And her nodal age point, the whisper of her soul, it has gone over Mercury, and you can see it's approaching Venus. We've got Venus. So basically, her soul will be whispering to her about love, but also art. What could I say about transits? Anything else? We're only skimming here, of course. I may be wrong, but I don't know if there's anything I'd specially want to choose out. Oh, hang on. April 2016, Uranus conjunct Rahu, the same as Maggie. That's big, big, big. And again, you have to have the same warnings, as it were, about keeping it gentle, keeping it kind, because it is so big. Jupiter square Neptune, very imaginative. So we'll carry on. Progress moon, where is it? Here we are. Another one going into the 1st house. So her reclusiveness is over. She's going to go through a great gateway, a triumphal gateway. Very different energy when progressed moon enters your 1st house. It'll take 2.5 years to go through the 1st house. And it looks like it has just crossed through the gateway. I can't tell exactly from this little chart, but it looks, near as damn it. So Rebecca now will, dashes in Mercury moon. Okay, that's a difficult one because, of course, it's the difficult marrying of mentalism and emotional authenticity. What is her Atmakarika? The moon. Now, when we're in Atmakarika period, so here the Bhukti is moon, my goodness, so much changes. I've just finished Rahu moon, and so much changed for me. It's like a sopping wet cloth and wringing out the last drops to the very last day of it. And so there's a great divine purpose in this period for Rebecca. Part of it is about, I think, marrying emotions and mentalism, because moon is in Gemini and because she's in Mercury moon period, where Mercury, of course, rules Gemini. And it can be quite painful to try and ride those two very different energies. Here we have the transits. So Well, Rebecca has the same ascendant Cancer as I do. So, of course, she has Saturn going through her fifth house. Weirdly, she also has Saturn going across Mars. And Saturn is coming up to going across Ketu. I have found that quite often brings past life issues, past life people, and even past life skills. And when it happened to me, well, weirdly, I found myself teaching the Ogham, the Celtic tree alphabet of the ancient Irish Druids. And of course, my blood is in Ireland. Maybe I was one or learnt it or something. I mean, or maybe it's expressive of that background. Ketu will enter her eighth house, which is very psychic and very mystical. Rahu will enter her second house with Jupiter already there. So Rahu and Jupiter will both be there from the end of January till August. Mandi and Gulika, the shadow children of Saturn, are there. So a need for a lot of care, taking it easy. Definitely. Let's carry on down. Predictive age points. Now, Rebecca has recently had the confluence of her two predictive age points. I should have looked up when the confluence was. Now, I don't know whether I'll wreck everything if I quickly try and do that. Ooh, doesn't seem to like this. Oh dear, I better not try. I should not have tried this. I am sorry. Oh no. Right, what do I do? Please move this. Don't know. There we are. Okay, Rebecca, I can email it to you if you haven't got the information. And indeed, I can email you, as well as emailing the document, email you all specific bits of information. So I'm hoping you can see the screen and share all right. I'm just sort of wondering if it was about the birth of the youngest child. So you see those age points are widening. So she's, the crossroads, this most important crossroads is behind her. Okay. No way of telling. I can guess. It was the Jupiter-Neptune midpoint, roughly. And that was in November 2014. I'm not sure it was that exactly, though. But I mean, that should be very visionary, like an increase in her mysticism and so forth. Right. And the age point is going through the sixth house of the individuation age point is going through the sixth house of health, healing, service, and right living. The intense period is between those two dots, and she enters that July 2016 and leaves it December 2016, as it happens. Right. Transits. Let me just have a look. Uranus to Sun, is that applying? We must note that it seems to be. So that's quite revolutionary. It's like, you know, the sort of tower in the tarot pack. We've mentioned Saturn to the south node. Right, let's look at the transits list. Neptune is square the nodal axis. That's very fated. That's February 2016, but obviously before and after period. I may be wrong, but I think that was some sort of intuitive role in a past life, which will now come to the fore. It's very important when a planet squares the nodal axis. Uranus square the moon. So that's, struck tower-like. Saturn conjunct Uranus, so that's quite agonizing because Saturn is restriction and limits necessarily, and Uranus is our revolution. So Saturn's sitting on it. We have to ride those two horses. Jupiter enters her fourth house, so the home will be very important. Here we have Uranus square moon again, Saturn conjunct Uranus. Big stuff here. The nodes are transiting square the nodes. So I think definitely, and then Neptune square the nodes again. Off the cuff, because this is very off the cuff. I think it's an important intuitive, yes, especially with Ketu in. What was Ketu transiting in? Which house? The 8th, I'm sure of it. Yes. Yes. So it's about seership and prophecy and mysticism. Okay. So Rebecca's progressed moon. Coming up. No. Oh, progressed moon. Where is it? There's the natal moon. Can't see it. Here we are. 4th house, cusp of the 4th house. So that's very home orientated and mother issues for 2.5 years, without a doubt. It can indicate a move of house, by the way, or getting house issues right, which amounts to the same thing. Seem to vaguely remember she had Jupiter transiting to her 4th, which is important. I'm not certain. So we come to David, and David's predictive astrology, well, he is in Mars, Venus, and so I haven't, studied his birth chart. Let's have a look. Mars is in his 9th house, which is obviously about spirituality and higher learning. Venus is conjunct Ketu in the 7th house of marriage. So I do think marriage issues and love will be highlighted now, in the forefront with Mars in the background. Going through to the Huber age points. Well, now he's, the individuation age point is about to go over Sun, Saturn, and Mercury, that difficult and karmic stellium in the 8th house. So he'll be understanding and perfecting that. It'll soon be opposition Neptune. Oh, in conjunct Neptune, 2017. Enters the cusp of the 8th house in June 2016, conjunct Saturn in December 2017. So a very big karmic time for David. And one can go into that in great detail. The 8th house is death and rebirth, partnership and intuition. So by the end of the year, you can see the Huber age point will be well into the stellium. The nodal age point has already gone over Venus, whispering about matters of love, his soul whispering to him from the astral. And so the transits list, Uranus opposite Uranus, that's significant about bringing in our difference, our revolution. Here it is again in September 2016. Saturn is square the nodes in December 2016. I mean, that brings very karmic, hard lessons from previous life. Responsibility, patience. And towards the end of the year and into the new year, Rahu conjunct Moon, that's not easy for mind. So those two together are very tough. And there can be great learning, and the perception of Vedic astrology is quite crucial as to the nature. I have only skimmed this. And the timing. And then what do you do about it? And that's why in all our stuff, we talk about art, drawing this stuff, embodiment, actually standing up and being it. It's terribly instructive. Healing modalities and empowerment modalities. This is a very karmic crossroads for David, as we can now see, not only from the Huber age point, but also from transits. And is that Neptune square Neptune as well? Looks like it. Yes. So that's, again, not only is he coming into his Uranus revolution, but he's coming into his vision, stripping out delusion and illusion, coming into the pure mediumship. Progress Moon is, here we are, in the second house. It's in the middle of the second house. It's in Pisces. It's coming up to natal Jupiter. It'll cross natal Jupiter soon. Oh, sorry, it's in the third house natally. It's in the second progressed house. I am sorry. It's in the third house. And, that can be siblings, but often it's sort of obstacles and overcoming them. There could be some enlargement when the progressed moon reaches Jupiter. So Yvonne, her Atmakarika is Venus. That's the unfinished task from a previous life. In her dashas, she is in Mercury Moon, the same as Rebecca. But of course, her Mercury and her Moon are in different signs. So her Mercury and Moon are in Sagittarius, in her second house. No, sorry, that's in Navamsha. I do apologize. So her Moon is in Gemini, just like Rebecca. Interesting. Sidereal Gemini. Right. So similarities may be. And her transits, so Saturn is heading towards her natal Saturn. That's the second Saturn return, but a long way away. Saturn is going through her fourth house. Her sixth house for Moon. So we could look into those and interpret them, the Vedic astrology. It's gone over Jupiter. The Guru Chandala Yoga will be in her first house. I think that's very significant. I think she'll be wanting to assert herself. And it's right that she should do so in a purified and balanced way. In service to others, I would think. Difficult chart for, time for love, because Ketu is going over Venus, and any love relationship that's not strong can't withstand that. But of course, the experience can purify the love relationship. The Ketu to Venus transit is very, very big and important. So the Huber age point is about to enter the 11th house of, groups, networks, hopes and wishes, achieving your hopes and wishes. And I would add possibly internet use these days. And the nodal age point has just gone over Saturn. Death, separation, karma, all that sort of thing. And look, the nodal age point is square her unaspected Venus in the 7th house of marriage in Pisces. So again, love issues, there's a big confluence happening here. And it'll be obviously very important to use good perception to work out what's happening, to share on that with the partner, etc. So transits, what would I pick out? See that Uranus has just recently gone over her K2. I think I'm right in saying that, be about 3 times. The standstill of the end of the month is quite close. And I'd ask Yvonne to email me for some information about that. And again, it can point to internet. Again, it points to connections. Again, it points to manifesting your incarnational life purpose this time, but from the specific bit of sort of manifesting past life talents to progress the future direction. Not an easy time for Yvonne with Mars, Uranus on top of her nodal axis. Pluto square the nodal axis. Very big stuff going on for Yvonne. Progress moon entering the 11th, has entered the 11th house of gains, is about to go over Uranus, I'd say in a year's time at a guess, possibly less. Yeah, I think there's big change on the way. So we come to Solongo. So by predictive periods, Solongo is in the very hard Saturn predictive period from October 2004 to October 2023. Within that, she is in Saturn moon. So what's her Atmakarika? Her Atmakarika is Venus, right. Her moon is, what's her? Moon in the 9th house, Gemini. Saturn moon. Well, I wonder if it doesn't include childhood issues, because obviously Moon is mother and Saturn is in the 2nd house of childhood issues. And I think they could be quite strongly arising during this bhakti, but also great spiritual learning because the Moon is in the 9th house. And indeed, well, the moon rules the 10th house of career, so possibly that. But I think more learning lessons. The Rahu, Jupiter's going in her 11th house of gains over Mars and Venus. Huber age points. Oh yes, this confirms what I thought about sort of learning. Solongo has an unaspected Neptune. I have an unaspected Venus-Neptune subpersonality. This is terribly important. She has a grand trine in air, I believe, as well. And So she'll be stripping out sort of illusion, delusion, but greatly increasing her sensitivity and psychism. Because the Huber age point is aspecting her unaspected Neptune now, entering the sixth house of health, healing, service, and right living and work. The nodal age point has gone over Uranus and is heading towards Saturn in the second house again. So there we have the square Neptune exact on the 23rd of November 2015. The inconjunct to Pluto in July, remember that's quite a painful, then a sudden sort of taking a fork in the roads energy. Very important to know all about what that means. Pluto in her chart is square. Pluto is T square, Jupiter. No, I'm so sorry. It's not. Pluto is square Jupiter. Indeed, it's cut off by Mercury semisextile Saturn. It's virtually unaspected because those are only one-way aspects, part-time temporary aspects. Like me, Sonongo has unaspected or nearly unaspected Pluto in the first house. And that is very psychic, but it's also about constantly reinventing yourself. And it is coming up, she's coming up to a reinvention. So we're only skimming. Rahu conjunct Mars in June 2016. Could be overpacing, but, well managed, could be very productive. Nodes, the nodal axis is square Uranus. Again, that, it points to some sort of big change coming up. Saturn opposite Chiron is worth noting. The progressed moon is in the 10th house of career and standing in the world. I mean, what's coming into my head is astrology and intuitive declaration. Sonongo really moving into doing that, maybe. Emma, we've already worked with. So I'm just going through all Emma's stuff. And Mumtaz. Right, well, Mumtaz has ascendant in Scorpio. As we know, Saturn is going through Vedic Scorpio at the moment. And so Mumtaz is moving out of a very inward period that started a good 3 years ago, but she won't feel sort of full confidence yet. That's the first thing to say. Very strong Mars. Rahu is the Atmakarika. That normally means someone who didn't fulfill their spiritual incarnational life purpose last time, so they're really impelled to sort of fulfill it this time, putting it very briefly. Tithi 14 is a hard one. Oh, that's moon phase at the time of birth. Can make one quite sort of angry and dissatisfied with oneself because, of course, you don't quite get to 15. Maggie's got 14. So you can just never, you feel you never quite get to full, if you see what I mean. And so that energy is worth recognizing and working with. By predictive periods, Mars from March 2015 to March 2022, but within that, Mars Rahu from August 2015 to September 2016. Well, remember that Rahu is a Atmakarika, so all those things I said about you get really tumbled about if you're not on life course during your Atmakarika period. So a lot of learning and perception. Mars Rahu is a sort of action man type or action woman type of energy. So let's look at what signs and houses they're in. So her Rahu is in the second house, with Ketu in the 8th, conjunct Saturn, and Mars in the 7th house of marriage. Well, spiritual utterance comes to mind because, of course, Rahu is in the second house of, well, yes, childhood issues, but also mouth. And indeed, Ketu in the 8th house is mystical, conjunct Saturn, very karmic. I just wonder if mystical utterance is the background. It was mystical utterance, but working with marriage and also the public at large, I would think, in the background. So that's what I'd say off the cuff. So Ketu goes into the 9th house. Rahu and Jupiter will be in her 10th house of career on top of her moon. Big times. Oh, I'm so sorry, it's the 9th house transiting. So Ketu will be in her 4th house. So her home could, at best become more mystical. At worst, she could, as it were, undo home issues because she's got to get career right. So they've got to watch the balance there. Be careful of the Guru Chandala Yoga on top of the moon in the 10th house of career, but she will be impelled to better her career between the end of January and August 2016. Big times. I mean, I think that utterance stuff is important, and I would have thought a priestess type role. So the transits, we'll just look at the now to natal very quickly. Uranus has gone over Chiron. Chiron has gone over Sun. So different sorts of big and important healing indeed. Chiron over Sun is big. Chiron doesn't appear in the transits list, sadly. AstroCalc can't include them at the moment anyway. Neptune square Neptune, working up to that, very visionary. Saturn conjunct Rahu, fated and hard work. fated connections. And that, I think, is Ketu going over the sun. That needs checking. Hold on. So, indeed, yes. Ketu is in Pisces now, but enters Aquarius, Vedic Aquarius, at the end of January, and will go over Mumtaz's Sun, then her Jupiter, then her Mercury. Now, it can be very spiritual, but it's not all that easy. And if 3 planets going over Ketu, so I ought to email Mumtaz a meaning of that. So a very important, very spiritual time, but not easy. Not easy to balance all this spiritual opening with the self in the world. So, you know, care and strategy and lots of monitoring. Her progressed moon is in here we are, in her 3rd house. So there it is, approaching her sun. So again, this whole issue about her identity. Coming up to progressed moon going into the 4th house. Oh yes, and at the end of the document, I think I've already sent it, but I have built in the charts of all the eclipses, Western and Vedic, and I think the retrogrades. So it's been quite a massive resume, and we're exactly on the 2-hour point. Well, I'm going to stop the share now, and yes, I'm back on the screen. Oh, and I've got a chat message which I've only just seen. Let's see if I can possibly... Oh, everything looks okay. Well, that's a relief. Right. I'm wondering if anyone would like to unmute themselves to say anything or to ask anything. Hello.
Hello, Michael.
Hello.
That was wonderful because we got to see the charts and get used to, for me, the Western astrology aspects. Yeah. And you combining them together, and they start to become much clearer. Now you kind of decode them for me, which is great.
Well, that's good. I think you're on you're going through the gateway to greatness, Lisa.
I was a bit concerned when you said all about that red. I was like, okay, deep breaths.
Deep breaths, yeah.
But thank you very much. It's very helpful, especially at the end of the year, and feeling that change. It's definitely there, but it's something elusive in the background at the moment. It's something I can't quite feel. I can feel it, but I can't see it or direct it. So I just have to wait.
Yes. And of course, when the schools have gone back, let's say the 7th, 8th, 9th January, I'll do a great detail about what the planets are doing in 2016. So that will be of interest. But certainly you're really coming out into your fullness now, I feel.
Which is great to hear. Yes, that's great to hear.
Yeah, and again, I'm very much looking forward to these 4 webinar series. I'm just hoping the times are bearable for you. But of course, if they're not, you get the recording. And of course, anyone can ask questions in the Facebook group or email me. but they will. They're set to be, I think, very, very special, and building in the healing, embodiment, the artwork, the empowerment techniques each time. So I'm very much looking forward to working with you and your chart in those.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. I'll be away until the 22nd of January.
Well, no problem. Yeah. Oh, and the fact they don't start till the first week of February. But of course, the 2016, I'll just email you the recording.
Yeah. No, that'll be excellent. I'm looking forward to those recordings. It'll be great.
Right. Well, thank you. Any particular, any other point or question?
I just wanted to say thank you, Michael. That was really interesting. I
Who's
really
talking,
enjoyed.
please?
It's Mumtaz.
Hello, Mumtaz. Hello.
Hi. I just wanted to say.
I think your astrology looked very interesting. You appear, I feel like at a crossroads of priestesshood, definitely, but also of work, and of course keeping the marriage and the home going as well. So, and I must definitely send you sort of potted meanings of that Ketu transit, the South Node, because it's really big.
Yes, I'd love to know more about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was very
that sounds
struck.
quite interesting, priestesshood.
Yes, but I think part of it is you'll become a lot more, mystical and declarative. I do think that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. My head's still going a bit from that, really. Especially having 3 planets. I think that's going to be a powerful time in August sometime, isn't it?
Yes.
Next year. So
but I suppose that the issue is you've got to sort of balance career and marriage and house as well.
Yeah. Maybe I'll take some time off around then.
Okay.
So if you tell me a bit more, I might have to plan my holidays around then.
Well, it could be a good time for the holiday because, I'll send you the stuff. Well, but if you wouldn't mind emailing me that and any other questions, and that applies to everybody, because otherwise I won't, I'll be a bit at sea. It's best if I respond to emails or share a post in the group. And if anyone posts in the Facebook groups, if they put my name in, because I don't really go on Facebook, I get sort of overwhelmed by it. But if I have a notification that I think the word is tagged, then I go on it and see what the message is. Right. Anybody else? Any comment? Oh, sorry, who's talking?
It's me, Maggie.
The interference is difficult. Someone needs to mute.
Can you hear me okay now? It may be that the people who just spoke themselves. Anyway, can you hear me okay?
I'll mute myself just in case.
Is that okay? I can't hear you because you muted yourself. Okay. I'll just unplug. Any better? Just a minute. I'll just keep speaking. Obviously I can't hear you because you've muted yourself. So I just wanted to say, what fun work that was between all of us, and what mental ability it takes to switch things up. I was very impressed.
Maggie, it is a shame that your voice is so distorted. You sorted it out a moment. What did you do?
Sorry?
Well, the interference is really terrible, sadly.
All right.
You sorted it out a moment ago. What did you do?
Okay.
Hello?
Is that better?
Perfect. What did you do?
I unplugged my microphone.
Oh, right. Well, I'd follow that policy in life.
Yes, okay.
Oh, so say again, you thought it was a great deal of work?
I was just aware of how much work that was, how useful it was. Yeah. I just thought, wow. I admire your stamina and mental agility, because I might have mental agility, but I certainly don't have that predilection for hard work.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I mean, I'm hoping it's useful, and of course, I'll be emailing the document in 2 formats to everybody tomorrow, and everybody, say I mean, I'm just sort of slightly worried I've copied and pasted something wrong, from the wrong person. I don't think I have, but just check what you've got, and also check if other people have got details and you haven't, and so you can say, hey, Michael, you forgot to copy and paste my secondary progressions or something. Again, I don't think I have, but it would be so easy in all that to have got something wrong or something missed. And I'm hoping that if you make notes on this and read the Western prediction that you've already had, you'll be in such a good place to hear about the actual movement of the planets in 2016 as soon as the schools have gone back. And I'll have to, find out what date that is, because I know it affects certain people in the group. And I imagine, therefore, that the 2016 webinar will be about the 7th of January or the 8th or the 9th, something like that. So thank you indeed, Mackie, for that comment. Whoa. So thank you, everybody. And very glad to receive any questions, and all blessings to all of you for your year ahead, and have a happy Christmas and New Year. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas.
Yes. Bye.
Mumtaz.
Bye.